to buy into, and it's going to be great, and you'll make a ton of money. And so they grandparents were duped by this, and they bought into this big financial deal. Well, they soon found out that it was all a sham, and they found themselves in a huge financial mess. Their debt was overwhelming. It affected everything in their lives. They no longer had any freedom to choose to live the way that they wanted to. It was crippling debt, and it affected not only them but their kids. And in the land that this man lived, where they were from, you inherited the debt of your parents, which isn't the way that we do it now, but in the story, that's what happened. You inherited the debt of your grandparents. So they have a son, he inherits this massive, massive, massive debt. Not only does he inherit that debt, but as he goes through life, he makes poor financial decisions throughout his life, which only compounds the debt. And then he dies, and it gets passed to the next son, and he inherits this massive debt. And it's just crippling. It affects everything in their life. And as the generations go on, they all dealt with it differently. So some of them just decided to say, oh, I have no debt. They tried to just ignore the debt and pretend that it wasn't there, but it still was there, and it still affected the freedom that they had to live the life in the best way that it could have been. Some of the generations were depressed. Obviously, they had anxiety. They didn't know how to deal with this debt that they had. Some of them turned to other things to try and help them forget the debt that they were in. But those things that they turned to only added to their unhappiness and their sadness, and just made their burden even bigger. So this debt just rolls and rolls and rolls till it gets to the man we're talking about. So one day, he gets a knock at the door, and he opens the door, and there's a man that he doesn't know. And the man says, hey, I've heard about your debt. I know that it's an inherited thing, but I also know that you've made some poor choices as well. But I've heard about your debt, and I want to do something for you. I've sought you out, I found you, and what I'm here today to offer you is that I will pay your debt, the whole thing. I know it's huge, but I want to pay it for you. Well, the man couldn't even believe it. Why would anyone make such an offer? And he said, no, I just want to pay the debt for you. He said, not only do I want to pay the debt that you've inherited and that you've added to, but I want to pay your future debt as well. So if you make poor decisions in the future, all you have to do is come to me and ask me, and I'll pay that too. Well, the man could hardly believe it. Not only did he said, well, what's the hitch? What do I have to do? And he said, well, I'll pay all of this. I want you to spend time with me. And as you spend time with me, you'll learn to make better choices. We'll learn to be good friends together. So I'm offering to pay your debt, and I want to be your friend as well. Of course, the man accepted. He couldn't believe it. He accepted. And the very next day, he couldn't wait to go and tell all his friends what this man had done for him. Because you see, they lived in the same place, and they also had inherited the debt of their parents as well. And so he got up the next morning, and he said, I've got to tell everyone. So he goes to his neighbors, and he knocks on their door and said, you're not going to believe what's happened to me. This guy came, and he paid my entire debt, not just what I've already done, but that I have, but he also offered to pay all my future debt as well if I just ask him. And he was surprised at the neighbors' reactions, because some of them were excited, and they said, tell me who this is, point me in the right direction. And they accepted the gift as well. But then some of his neighbors just slammed the door in his face, and they said, I don't have any debt. Other neighbors said, well, I don't know, it sounds really good, but maybe I'll think about that another day. And so the man eventually came home and was a bit sad about the fact that some of his neighbors didn't want to accept the gift. Well, maybe you're getting what the story is about, maybe you're not, but I'll explain. So we're the man. We've been born with a thing called, not debt, but a thing called sin. Every one of us was born with it, and every one of us deals with it. And every one of us deals with the fact that it takes away the freedom that we have to live joyful, happy, fulfilled lives. Every one of us. And Jesus is the man that showed up at the man's door. He comes to each one of us. He seeks us out, and he knocks on the door, and he says, I'm offering to pay your debt. All you have to do is accept it. Just say yes. Just take my gift. That's all we have to do. And so you may be sitting at home watching this video, and that may be you, that you know somehow you sense that, yeah, that's me. All we have to do is simply accept the gift. He pays our debt, and then we get to live in freedom with joy that he wants us to be able to live in. This isn't just this man's story. This isn't just my story. This is the story of hundreds and hundreds and thousands and millions of people who have said yes to Jesus. In the coming weeks and months, we want to share some stories with you of people that we know that God has intervened in their lives. He's paid their debt and has done amazing things for them. Some of them might be encouraging to you, some of them might be challenging to you, and some of them might even be quite unbelievable to you. But please stay tuned with us, and as we share these things with you in the near future.